But am I echoing still?
Yes.
Let me just mess with things a little bit here.
If you can reduce it just to... Oh, okay.
Now your mic
No,
is like, oh my god, now you're a microwave.
Oh my fucking god.
Hang on, I'm messing with cables.
Playing games with friends is fun. Smile. Though I have a bit of a secret hobby. Can you guess it? It's the title of the YouTube video. Multiplayer games, kind of what many fans of mine might think, are the primary thing I play. I love weird little esoteric indie games, but roll the dice and chances are I'm playing Rocket League Maniac and Sovereign 2. The pre-sequel, Revengeance. Playing games with friends is one of the single best uses of time online, but there's been moments where getting 1 to 7 other people to play something at the same time simply wasn't an option. And yet, the itch was still there. So I took to playing these games not with others, but entirely alone. And in the process, I discovered a whole different genre of game. Rather than the usual essay format, I thought it'd be most fun to do 3 short expeditions, each one another angle of the solo multiplayer experience. Can you guess which one is first? It's in the thumbnail. Peak is quality slop, I only like it because it's good. In fact, it is one of my favorite games to have released in 2025, and it's entirely due to just how unique of a game it is. It was made originally for a personal game jam, a breeding ground for creativity found often through restrictions. Aggro Crab and Landfall gave themselves 1 month to make a game together, from ideation to product, and the chaos of such a process almost always leads to weird, interesting results. Their main focus was making a game that was funny, something they absolutely succeeded at.
Stop! Stop! Stop doing this!
But the roughness of its design serves the gameplay experience as well. Your goal is simply to climb to the peak of the mountain, volcanic mountain, and get rescued. Your controls are simple and the physics are goofy, guarantees of a game that Landfall is a part of, but the gameplay is where things get interesting. Your stamina bar is where the near entirety of the difficulty of each run pulls into. Your stamina is your life, and your stamina management is your lifeline. Damage, hunger, poison, heat, cold, weight, they are all really one stat, the thing that reduces your stamina, but caused and removed in completely different ways. In a game world where the only way to win is to move up, it makes sense that your life is literally the same as your movement. Now, the variety comes through the nuances of it all. A medkit can heal almost everything entirely, but takes a very long time to activate. You're given a few moments after your bar is empty to do something, anything, and unless you're quick to the draw, you will go unconscious before being able to heal yourself. However, with something like a remedy fungus, while less complete in its healing, holding it in your hotbar when you go unconscious will make you drop it, and dropping it is all it takes to activate, saving your life in the run entirely. The game is filled with little details, small interactions, and each one learned is another future life saved. I see one of these, even if I don't want to hold it, like, you gotta... That is the loudest sound in the entire game. Oh my god, I am blind. Fun fact, you can just block the sun in this game with anything, invalidating the entire mechanic. They didn't remove it, so it must be intentional. It is simply very strange that you can just do that. It's a roguelite unlike any other roguelite. It's a climbing game unlike any other climbing game, and that means the way it interacts with multiplayer as a game experience is just as unique. The game is not exactly easy. In fact, Peak's entire balancing system relies entirely on multiple people being present. Unlike many other multiplayer-focused PvE games, there are many moments where one mistake, one miscalculation, even one bug can instantly kill you. This is the closest we can, or the furthest we can get. All right. There we go. No! No!
Oh my god. Oh no! Yeah, the red claw. Oh my god!
Are you alive?
Maybe.
Hello? It's not sounding good.
Hi.
Hi. I think Anthony is holding on to hope, and there's no way that we can fucking save him. This fragility is counterbalanced by the simple fact that if you're playing Peak, you're almost always playing it with 4 people. At the end of each and every biome, there is a statue that revives everyone, and to keep it fun for the dead teammates, they're still able to participate as a ghost in the meantime. Me when I think of people who hate women. Oh.
So true.
Me when I think of women, they're parentheses, they're awesome. Oh,
Oh no! Okay.
Okay, it's fine. But truly, the single biggest form of balance in this game is really quite simple. Screwing over your teammates for fun. Grab your marshmallow, Anthony. Oh. And... You motherfucker. You were such a little. You have real scoundrel energy. Like the way you're stanced up. Dude, don't do that. What the fuck?
Awesome.
You did not go anywhere. Here, 1 second. I'll light the fuse. Just be looking at the right spot. Okay. What the fuck?
Oh no!
Okay, I'm alive. He who is coming.
Oh. Oh, you just.
Oh shit! I'm stupid.
Thank you.
Oh, careful.
Yeah,
literally just said.
Oh. You should probably get it from the other side.
No.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
I cannot fucking believe this.
Okay, look.
Oh,
We made it. Wait, what? Oh no, we didn't make it. What the fuck is this?
I'm a distracting ghost.
Oh, snow piles.
You asshole.
I saw a shadow.
Where are you?
Oh, well, what the heck?
Okay,
Oh my god. I almost hit you. That was so
Motherfucker.
You. Oh my god. That was almost so bad.
Oh yeah, they are over here. Like somewhere this.
Try it. I'm not gonna move. Just try it.
Okay, I want to see if I can hit you. Oh!
Almost.
that was close. Yeah, once the lava goes down. Okay, you're just going.
Grab the
just
wall on the way down to not take fall damage, by the way. Oh no!
I missed.
No, get out, get out. No, get out.
Okay.
That should work, right?
Oh my god.
Just go. I just want to jump for it. Can you just give me like a ton?
We'll make that.
I'm
No,
going
trust,
first. Yeah, it's totally makeable.
Nice.
Don't fuck that up though. Don't fuck that up. Anthony, catch.
Okay.
Nice. Are you? Uh-oh.
I didn't time it that well.
Fighting time.
Okay. Shit. Okay. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
They didn't make it.
Oh shit.
Where are they?
Oh no. Oh shit.
It might
That
be.
is a lava sound. That's a lava echo.
Alan.
Yeah?
Take this.
Fucking dumbass.
This.
You fucking idiot. Oh, it worked.
It worked. All 4 of us survived.
All 4 of us really easily survived.
Yes. And there were
Guess
no
I'm dead.
complications at all.
Playing Peak alone grants you no special privileges. Almost nothing is accounted for to make it easier, and truly, one mistake can not just kill you, but end your entire run. Every time you commit to a climb, it's not just scarier, but much more exciting.
Oh shit. Fucking. Oh. Fuck you, game. Oh my god. Okay, this is not climbable. Okay, Jesus Christ. How is this entire route possible? Utterly insane. Utterly insane.
One small mercy afforded to you is that items that literally can't work without multiple people aren't in the pool. Even further, one of the largest nerfs on items is completely removed, needing everyone to make it up the mountain.
Actually, I'm not sure if I can get up from here.
You can get right here.
Yeah, don't
Okay.
touch the.
Don't touch
Hell.
the
Also,
delicious-
don't touch
Hell.
these.
So,
Okay.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
The game is dictated in large part by the various tools you get. While every new mountain is climbable without anything special, hitting a dead end would often make you go back halfway down the mountain over a single error in routing. When dealing with the fog behind you or the inexperienced players who might not be able to do the toughest stretches, items are there to be used strategically. Or in other ways.
Don't jump into the spikes, by the way.
But I like spikes.
They look so fun and pointy.
We can probably take the bridges here.
Ah! Oh no!
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! I was trying to get you into
I'm good.
spikes.
I'm good. I'm okay. That's cool. cool.
Yeah. Do you guys want to take it? I'm kind of full.
I'm full.
I mean, I have the backpack.
I can grab it.
Okay.
Should I
So
plant it, or?
if we, no, don't put it down yet. If we're
Okay.
oh my god.
Get over here. That's it. Sorry, I'm out.
That's so good. That's so good.
I thought I was dead.
Many of these items are very strong, but only allow one person to feel its effects. An energy drink can allow you to scale a wall 3 times the normal amount, but your friends will still be down there. This makes it so that items are naturally balanced, requiring not just solo items or team items, but both simultaneously to make things work. An energy drink alone is useless, but an energy drink and a rope can save your entire group. In solo, ropes are borderline useless. However, energy drinks simply let you climb 3 times the distance. With enough experience, perhaps paradoxically, solo climbing in Peak becomes much easier than multiplayer. Where a rescue hook and its 3 uses can function as a glorified rope with friends, it is a grappling hook that clears half of an entire biome alone. Though, you're never allowed to be too comfortable.
Oh god, this is the worst idea. This is something I should never ever get in this game. Oh! Okay, yeah, totally normal. Oh, okay, there we go. Perfect. I wasn't scared even once. Okay, it's fine. Never made a single mistake in my life. Did that threaded the needle? That was sick as hell.
This endless looming threat of just one mistake seems crushing at first, but there is a certain effect that happens the longer you play this game. More than nearly any other, I feel myself able to texturally connect to the mountain in some sense. Something about the simplicity of the climbing system makes it easy to feel exactly how much energy I have, exactly what distances I can make, and exactly what polygons are standable, even when the game isn't visually confirming it.
One of these fucking polygons you can stand on. Yeah, okay. I know better than the fucking game does.
With time, despite all the hazards, all the chaos, it became a near guarantee for me to reach the peak every single time I started the game. In a normal video game, one where winning is so hyper-focused in its design, this is where I would stop caring about it. Maybe I'd go for the built-in challenge ones, but they often betray the original experience in their effort to make it harder. There are, in fact, higher ascents in Peak for those who want it, but I don't find much interest in them. One of the most interesting aspects of playing Peak solo is not the void of players in its design, but the void of stimulus left in its wake. The game has essentially no music, and the music it does have is often minimal. It does not do much to fill your eyes and ears, because that time is meant entirely for this.
I'm using the compass. We should
I've
go.
often followed the green gas in my
What
life,
the
and it's
fuck?
led me to some horrible places. This is the shit that the Joker would do.
Now that I have my green gas, everyone in Gotham will go crazy.
You know? Or rather, maybe he has a green gas that just turns everyone green.
I will make Greentopia.
No, Batman,
Make
you
all the
can't do
people
that!
Green.
He's not Batman doing it. What are you talking about?
You're having joy now. See, the green is affecting you already.
Dude, my ass is turning green as we speak.
You're getting indoctrinated into the green.
When you play the game solo, you get an experience unlike almost any other, something closer to meditation than a video game. There is a simple and consistent joy to knowing the lay of the cliff so thoroughly, to be so in tune as to be in conversation with them. Each new ledge reached is an agreement between you and the mountain, that you know it and it knows you, connecting in as tangible a way as video games can get.
Genuinely, this game is like beautiful at times. It has like that Minecraft procedural generation kind of vibe where most of the time it just looks like kind of a whatever game, and then you like look at one thing and it's just the most idyllic view. Like this gigantic tree. Oh my fucking god damn it. You know, f me and my stupid philosophical ramblings. I'm gonna fucking just play the game.
Most of the time.
Like even in the Mesa where it's often the most stressful, at least if you have 4 people. Right now I'm kind of hearing like the rumbling of the tornado. Oh, the tornado's getting close to me. The rumbling of the tornado, the crickets in the night. Can you please just leave me alone? No! For the love of Christ, I'm just trying to talk about video games.
Okay, one more clip.
What the fuck? As I said, you can never fully relax. And yet, every moment of sudden panic is padded by a consistent, unexpected bliss. Peak is decidedly unbalanced when playing alone. Everything counterweighted by the existence of others simply topples over, closer to the actual reality of the situation than ever before. You are always dangling off the side of a cliff. And yet, in a world where both death and victory feel like equally acceptable outcomes, a world where you don't feel the pressure to win with your friends, you can feel the wind as it blows, hear the birds as they chirp, and see sights with a set of eyes that others have never had. And use a grappling hook. Next game. Lethal Company is a horror game, but more importantly, it's a game. The indie horror and hell even AAA horror genres have been populated with walking simulators since well before that was ever a term. They are the most makeable video game for amateur developers because inciting fear does not require gameplay elements. In fact, without careful design, gameplay can cut into the scare factor quite a lot. This is because good horror is kinda difficult to set up. Fixed camera angles, perfect timing, proper misdirects, the soundtrack responding to the horror in front of you. All of it becomes much harder when the protagonist can go anywhere and do anything. Solution? Put them in a hallway and take away their control during every important moment. Almost any time we see a revolution of sorts in the horror game world, it's a project that manages to avoid this formula, to be both a horror experience and a proper game, and Lethal Company is the single best example of this, even more special in that it's a multiplayer game. If one person adds chaos to the experience, 4, or even more with mods, is head-spinning, so the horror in Lethal Company must be found through something completely different. Perhaps the most important aspect of the game, and what makes it remain scary for as long as it does, is that most of the experience is shitting around with your friends. Did you hear what happened in Lethal Company? No, tell me. In the latest update, they added sex to the game. Sex? They added sex to Lethal Company? Oh no!
I don't think you should go there.
Help me. Help me.
Reveal.
Okay, let's go.
Oh, S+. That's the shit you get in Sonic games. They added sex to Sonic?
Oh, wait, but guys.
Did you just hear what happened with Benny the Ink Machine? No, tell me.
Yeah.
They added sex to the Ink Machine. Oh my.
Oh, we're right by the turret. Oh no, is this a different turret? That person's dead. Wee-oh!
Oh my god. That's not a sound that should ever leave my fucking mouth.
Aleph! Oh!
Oh, he's dead.
I don't like that.
Ah! Oh my god!
Is there a side entrance somewhere?
We're in. Okay, there's an engine. Oh my god!
There's a miscreant in the building.
A mystery.
That's
Nope,
not
a
what was
miscreant.
said. That was not what was said at all. Okay, I'm gonna decide the moon, guys. I'm gonna decide it.
Okay,
No, not that fence. No.
Oh my-
Sorry, is that a bad one?
It's fine,
No.
we can do options.
Not that
No, it's fine.
Oh, Will does not know to come back in time.
Will is looking at the blob.
Big things happening.
Hello.
I'm fascinated. It's not moving. What's happening? Is he like checking his phone? Dude, he's not moving.
Oh, this bees!
What? Dude, Canasian's alive. He's just not moving. He wasn't moving for like 3 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like... Oh,
No, he's
fucking
coming
hell.
back in.
Wait, there's a. Let's run. Wait, how do you think?
Oh, God damn it! No! The humor inherent to Lethal Company cannot be separated from the horror. Each one feeds into the other. The moments of laughter among friends sets a baseline. So then, when you're suddenly all alone, my god!
Wow!
Lethal Company Solo is missing an entire genre of game. It is the darkness without the light. It is tension without release. You very quickly realize just how much humor is not baked into the game's elements, but are instead sourced almost entirely from being there with other people. Despite the cartoony graphics...
You stupid bitch. I hate this game. I hate this game.
This game is hellish. There is an invisible timer that every horror game is on, where the more you get scared, the more you understand about the game, the less it feels tangible. Once it's all conceptualized as a series of mechanics easily picked apart, the most you'll get is occasionally startled with no actual fear. I'm sure that if you were to play Lethal Company alone as an experienced player, it would not be especially terrifying. I am not an experienced player.
What is that? Oh, I just want to get back. Oh, please. I can't do it. Get the fuck away from me. Don't do that. 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 Fucking Banjo-Tooie?
In fact, this game is much better at keeping you in the dark than any other horror game, because again, it is an actual game. You don't walk down a predestined hallway, they are all randomly generated, and so are the spawns of each and every monster.
Hazard level B? No thanks. I just saw something, no thanks. No thank you.
Their mechanics are not marked anywhere. Small tips and tricks are found by pure happenstance. You don't even get to see some of the hardest monsters without affording to go to some of the hardest planets. Lethal Company multiplayer naturally accounts for this. In every lobby there will be a gradient of experience and knowledge, just like Peak, and a lot of the idle chatter is the better players ushering along the worse ones.
Don't.
Oh.
Okay, so there's fall damage in the game.
I don't think there's gonna be too many creatures today because we got the landmine generation.
Oh
So
wait,
it's
these
just
are
a fucking
landmines?
Yeah, these are landmines.
I've been avoiding them by pure happenstance.
Without that natural process, you are literally in the dark. You might not even know that you can buy a flashlight, and to an extent you feel an insane pressure not to buy anything. Making quota is hard enough as it is, but alone in Lethal Company, if you die at all, you lose everything.
Can you f off? No, you get the f off of me. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do?
Each quota you make is in itself a miracle, and those stakes make everything so much more tense.
Bees. I don't like bees. Oh my god. I think I survived. Holy shit. That's all I gotta do.
And yet, with each quota made, you're only congratulated by the company. No camaraderie follows your hardships. You are surrounded by nothing but ambient noise and dread, flying down to yet another planet with uncertain odds, balancing on a knife's edge as every footstep that is not yours brings your senses to their maximum awareness. You are always in fear, you are always alone, and that is not something people always want. In the 2 sessions I recorded, alone and together, the clearest difference by far was not when things were going well, but rather when, in both, we knew our times were up.
Oh, this went so wrong so fast. Oh.
No! Fuck!
Yay!
Everyone was dead! What the? That sucks.
This
It was
is
the last
over.
day, too.
I think we
Yeah.
still have the money, right?
Yeah, we're gonna die.
No, we don't.
Oh
We lose
no, it's all
everything.
done.
We are going to die.
We're so gamers. I'll just be brave, and I will never die because I'm brave.
Okay, sure, you know what? Let's fucking do it. Everyone in.
Yeah, one final mission.
I'm so ready. I'm literally so ready right now.
Good luck.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Soda!
They added soda to Lethal Company? It's pitch black. It's fucking... I can't find anything. What? I just found my way to the entrance. Oh shit. I can't tell you how much I'm sweating right now.
What a dog that.
Hello?
Let me in. Come on.
Everyone else is very dead. Let's go out like fucking champions.
Wait, I know we can go out like champions. Come in. What?
I'm invincible.
Am I? I don't feel.
I'm all alone. No, you motherfuckers. I will leave in my goddamn element. Going out like House of Leaves. Come get me, motherfucker. I can see you there.
I feel so lethal. I feel so lethal and so company.
Yo!
That's where my story ends. What the fuck? Ah! Fuck you! What? No. Oh, what do you mean? I have nothing. I need to find something, anything. No. I wanted to get on top of the rail. I fucking give up. Oh, I'm a fucking failure.
As you have not met the profit quota, you are prevented.
Would you like to go out in my arms?
Go into our disciplinary process.
See you guys.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
Everyone.
Oh my god!
I don't feel so good.
The cold vacuum of space is the endpoint of every Lethal Company run, a destination either found in 30 minutes or hours and hours away. However, facing that inevitability is a matter of laughter with friends and a kind release while alone. In some sense, entering this world by yourself, like Peak, is much closer to what the reality of this situation is. Not unlike Iron Lung, you are a disposable worker enslaved by a megacorporation, putting yourself in mortal danger looking for fucking scraps to sell off, some picking of the bones of facilities long dead and long abandoned, taken back by the fauna of each planet drained by greed and arrogance. No matter how long you survive, you are always in the vacuum of space, a world devoid of human life in every way but physical. Death is an escape in a world so cruel, so meaningless, so painful. However, that's not what most people, like playing. They like this. And that's fine. Next game. Hey, did you guys know I popularized the blank that doesn't exist title format? I regret it every day. Anyways, very few competitive games allow you to ruin your chance of winning before even joining a match. One that does is PUBG Battlegrounds, also known as PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, a name change I can only imagine was done for search engine optimization. Now, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, in contrast to Peak and Lethal Company, is specifically a competitive PvP game. In fact, it is one of the most competitive, most PvP games. There is no fluff, there are no side modes that aren't just even more killing even faster. All you played this game to do is 1. Kill people, and 2. Survive the gauntlet. Video games are worlds generally designed for very specific purposes, but competitive games are the most specific. There is and always has been an endless debate about what each video game is meant to be like, and competitive games suffer the worst of it. Arc Raiders is currently going through this, a constant squeeze from the fanbase towards one vision of what Arc Raiders as a conceptual object is meant to be. Except that one vision is different for everyone. The main dichotomy in Arc's case seems to be people who want to treat the game like a generic PvP extraction shooter, and people who want everything to be flowers and rainbows except in very, very specific circumstances, a PvE game. This has led to 2 extreme groups. Rats, people who kill indiscriminately and salvage the loot from dead players, and rescue raiders, people who hunt after rats to try and make sure the aggressor in each conflict is killed. But they actually can't tell that all the time, so people who successfully defend themselves against rats often get killed by rescue raiders. The only thing that a successful rescue ensures is that everyone involved in a conflict dies. As you might As you might imagine, both of these extremes kind of balk at the most basic premise of Arc Raiders, a PvPvE game, missing the forest for the trees and wanting it to be one thing trademark. The sort of monoculture that seems to be long dying in our actual society easily forms in games because of the smaller fan base and limited options for playing. The amount of competitive games that have managed to largely avoid the meta suffocation of casual play can be counted on one hand, or perhaps one single finger, because it might only be Team Fortress 2. If there's more, let me know. For most people, and even in TF2 to some extent, it is unthinkable that someone might play a competitive game for a reason other than winning. So, in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds B, they just let you play as one person in squad lobbies.
I'm sure I just have graphic settings on low, but holy shit.
This is seemingly an option for teams of, say, 3 people to play without needing to queue with a random, but it's available for anyone and anyone can do it. This has 0 tactical benefits. By 0, I mean truly 0. Any place that one person can hide in the game, 4 people can hide, and even if there are some solo exclusive spots, you cannot hide forever. The circle will go somewhere you are not eventually, or someone will be forced to go where you are. When running, most available spots for cover only manage to block one cardinal direction. Any team with anyone who thinks at all will be able to easily flank and kill you, a maneuver only counterable by multiple people covering multiple angles. Faced with these odds, some people do it for a challenge. Either they are hugely experienced and want to see if they can win going out for blood, or they hide as long as possible and try and take out the final survivors. Both are long shots and both lead to death again and again and again, even for the best players. So, why try to win? In a situation where the odds are so stacked against you, the entire competitive experience can be revitalized, looked at from a brand new angle. You have nothing to lose when you drop down from that plane. So, be a rat.
Oh my god! Rat tactics, motherfucker! Got him! I would love to just steal this guy's car. Don't kill him, don't do anything. Just take his car and fucking book it. Just gonna fucking take it. See ya. Good fucking luck, buddy.
I feel good, feel great. Perfect day to move some freight. Got a pallet on my forks, got a smile on my face. I can pick up almost anything and lift it way up high. I could drop it on my head and file a claim to L&I because I work in a warehouse.
This is hypnotizing. I need to stop watching this. I got a rat. Day 1 ratting, day 2 ratting, day 3 ratting. Holy shit. Ah! Oh shit. My antibiotics. Holy shit. Fuck you. Fuck you. You got me at my weakest. When I need antibiotics. These are the biotics trying to kill me. Bro, they don't give up. That's why you gotta take it until it's gone, you know? There goes one. That guy fucking wiped me. Maybe I can just kind of... Got him! Oh shit.
I cannot tell you how free it feels to be a fucking rat in this game. You're not playing for honor, for victory. You are only there to fuck over other teams. Drop hot? Who cares? Someone kills me, expected result. I kill someone, I chop their team from 4 to 3, from 3 to 2. I slash their chances of winning. I am a fucking scavenger. Not hunting for loot, but for passion. People truly putting their heart into winning just for me to rip that heart out and savor it for myself. Even in moments where I don't kill someone, the experience is different. Any longtime PUBG player will tell you, that running through nature is an exercise in constantly scanning the horizon. One bullet can be all it takes to kill you, so the game is immersed in endless paranoia. Now, all I feel when running is that I get to be that paranoia. Investment, immersion into video game worlds is the thing that makes them truly special, but for competitive games, all it tends to lead to, for both the individual and the community, is misery. Nearly every community centered around competitive video games is filled with bitter, angry people that keep playing despite that. The cause is emotional investment in the result. It is immersion. It is the same special sauce that leads to life-changing pieces of art, bastardized into a condensed ball of loathing. And all of it, the catalyst that leads communities down that road, is the intrinsic belief that this world is made exclusively for winning or losing, all or nothing. And to be clear, I'm not above this expectation. My whole life has been plagued by it. I stopped talking to a friend when I was 14 once they got better than me at Rocket League. I've slammed my stupid hand on my desk so hard it bruised. I've spent a long time improving my mindset, but learning to appreciate the journey can take the whole journey. But here, removed of that expectation, starting these games already having lost everything, a feeling of peace and freedom washes over me. Every moment is sincerely fun, because every moment is another chance to ruin someone else's. In the briefest of flashes, a mere few hours in between a compassionate and empathetic existence, you get to play the role of the emotional nihilist, the enlightened centrist, the stream sniper, the troll, towering above the sheep and the sycophants, imbued with the power of nothing left to lose, life without conviction, mocking those who wish to try their best. And in this rush, this emotional transcendence, you realize why so many fucking losers in real life act like this. And knowledge is what I'm ultimately seeking. Roughness is what gives art spice to me, a texture through imperfections that emboldens and highlights the points of brilliance. Video games as a medium is perhaps the most designed for ease of interfacing, curated experiences meant to be for the person playing. In these instances of these multiplayer games that let you play alone, we're able to see what just one factor difference does to the entire art piece. Rarely do things so popular let you do this, and it's important to appreciate them for what they are. While in all of these cases, it was almost certainly just a might as well on the behalf of the developers, small decisions to open the gates like this allow for entirely new dimensions to be unlocked, and I will take every opportunity I can to find more. And with each step walked alone in these worlds, each moment spent in contrast to the smooth, well-intentioned design, I find myself appreciating both worlds more and more. Except PUBG. In fact, I like PUBG multiplayer less now. End of video. If you enjoyed the gameplay segments, I did too. Big thank you to everyone on the Discord who recorded with me, including Anthony of Reject Convenience, one of the single best YouTube channels to find attention recently. His and everyone else's socials will be in the description below. If I do something like this again in the future, I might ask the server once again, so join if that's of interest to you. The recording sessions for some of them were so fun that I turned them into full videos on my new second channel. This channel will be used for random things I feel like doing, but if you want to see more essays from me, I plugged 3 of my previous Nebula exclusive essays to watch entirely for free there. The link is in the description. And with that all being said, thank you for watching, and it's time for me to do the Patreon read, while avoiding getting hit by basketballs. It's Patreon time. For the past few months, every single weekend, I've been hosting an event called Lakeside Chats, a Patreon exclusive book club for anything audio-visual. Movies, television, game nights, and most often YouTube. More often game nights than anything, to be honest. We vote each week on the day and thing we're going to be watching or playing, and either discuss afterwards or just hang out and have a nice time. If you're interested in such a concept or just want to support me financially, as I reject almost all sponsors and I reject convenience, I reject convenience, hi. Consider subscribing to my Patreon. Lastly, patrons get their names shown on screen, and if they pay $5 or higher, they get their name shouted out at the end of videos. That being said, special Patreon shoutouts to Martin Lewis, Brambles Hopper, Edmund Dong, MF Bitchboy, Owen McGee, Wayne Wheeler, Cat Called Blep, Lucky on Fleek, Beanie Guitar Guy, Damage 43, Artelis Supinato, John M, Dom Creative, The Fluffies, Crazy Rooster Eye,
I know you,
Freya Core 1440. Oreo, bestest patron, Jacob Falk, Robin Michael Becker, I never pronounced that one correctly on time, Maiden Batter, Ted H, A Simple Lamp, Ro Ramden, Jocelyn, Owen, Stickman Mayhem, Gerberly, Fake Milk, Rudy Shoebring, Peter Healy, Christian Cook, I can't even get up, Celestial Tangle, Kevin Paulson, Poetry Stud, Necra, MC Logic Master 69, R2, JP Benini, Tricky Goose, I have so many, hi Tricky by the way, Nicotina, Danny Miller, you can't get me, I'm dodging, Crimson Aurora, Sistine Capella, Orange Dude, Umbrella, Truman Tietmeyer, Pixel, Lucy G, Goose, Zeke Hong, I Love Aqua, is that it? Oh wait, there's more. Artemis, Autumn Analysis, Sir Rhino, Ambient Isotopy, Diablo Star, and Lucy Tara I, Hrabenka Hraka, and Beatus. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced the last one. Okay, thank you so much. Get over here, motherfuckers.